All right. Hello, everybody. I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, as you know, and so I am going live today because of the events of yesterday, the sad and tragic events of yesterday. So, thank you for joining me. Let us allow more people to come on. Let us allow more people to come on. I hope everybody is doing well. Hope everyone is doing well. So, let's wait for more. Let's see if any more are going to come on today. Hope you're having a good day. So let's see, we'll give it a few more minutes, and then we will start talking about the tragic events of yesterday. I think it was FDR who talked about a day in infamy. This has been actually in my lifetime as a 62-year-older, this has been really three times where presidents were either shot or shot at. First was John F. Kennedy, November 22nd, if memory serves me correctly, 1963. I was just a baby. And then Ronald Reagan in the 80s. And of course, yesterday with Donald Trump. So this is not new for me, but it is always a trying situation for the country. Anytime you have political violence that, spills over and harms anyone, but especially, the President of the United States, who is the leader of the country and is the leader of the free world, right? So it is not a good situation. So we're still gonna wait, let a few more come on. People are coming on. We're so glad to see you all. Now let me just make sure I can see your comments, because I got a few things I want to say, and then after that, I'm going to answer some of your comments, as many as I can. So, we appreciate you all for coming on. Good afternoon, Apex. I think it's Garner. Thank you all for coming on. Good afternoon to Phyllis Williams, Disco Nina, Patricia Favors, Big Guns, Andrea Robinson, from Far Rockaway, New York. I have family from Far Rockaway, New York, Miss Robinson. Two uncles who lived there. They're both deceased, but they had children, and they have children from Far Rockaway. I've been there many times myself, seeing family. Pastor Tabitha Taylor. Pastor, thank you for being here with us today. Nicholas E., thank you. Nicholas, good morning to you as well. CM, North Carolina, my home state. Thank you for joining. Gloria Briscoe, greetings. Greetings, everyone. Patricia Favors, hello. VL McGee, thank you. Blessed Sunday. Thank you so much. Michael Williams, thank you for tuning in. Tina Pillar May, thank you for tuning in. Andrea Robinson, thank you. Chuck Barnes, Chef Tracy Gidry, quoting scripture this afternoon, where I'm at. Davia Williams, hello to you. Okay, we're about to the point where we'll get started here. Like I said, I have a few introductory comments, and then we're going to look at some of your comments. All right. Thomas Bell, good afternoon to you. Reginald Grant, greetings to you as well, sir. Joanne Steele, Folk Blue, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Nothing has changed on that front. Edna Daniel, hello to you as well, Miss Daniel. Miss Fernandez from Rio Grande Valley, how are you, ma'am? It is so good that you're here with us today. Rosalind Davis, I agree, is staged. That seems to be the sentiment of quite a few of you. Robert Smith. James Overton. Thank you for joining. Okay, well, folks are still joining. Let's wait. Let's see. First of all, let me say that we, Chloe and I, really appreciate all the support that you all have shown our channel. I really appreciate your support. I hope you can hear that applause right there. Thank you so much. You know, we have a goal of reaching 150 subscribers between now and the end of the year. I believe we're going to make it and exceed that. In fact, let me check to see now how many subscribers do we have at this moment. Well, we are approaching 110,000. Thank you so much. Thank you, because that means we're getting the word out to more and more and more people. All right, so I think we will go ahead and get started. Although folks are still joining us. Folks are still joining us. We got 651 with us so far. Let's see if we get to 700. Let's see if we get to 700 in the next couple of minutes. Okay, we got 670. Let's see if we get to 700. We will get started. Welcome from UK. Thank you, Miss Harewood. Miss Harewood, thank you so much from across the pond, as they say. Thank you, Miss Hatchett. She says, good afternoon. I watch you all the time. Thank you for your show. Thank you very much for tuning in and supporting the channel. Watching from Camp Hill, Alabama. Blessed to be here. Blessed to have you here. Blessed to have you here, Miss Worley. Blake Prince, all the way from Jamaica in the house. Thank you, Blake Prince. Well, we're past 700. We got 754. Let's see if we get to 800, and then I'll get started. You all just be patient. Be patient. Let's see if we can get this out to as many people as possible. As many people as possible. Man, wouldn't it be nice to be in Jamaica right now? Jamaica. Wouldn't it just be nice to be on the beach in Jamaica? Black Prince, do I have an invitation to Jamaica? Let me know. An invitation to Jamaica. Yeah. Okay. Chloe Corbett. I know that name. That's my favorite daughter right there. Hello, everyone, she says. Chloe is preparing for mediation tomorrow, so she set this out and has her head in the law books. So I had to go solo today. All right, so we got 784, 812. Okay, that was the 8. Okay, all right. You all, can we reach 1,000? Can we reach 1,000? It's over 800. Let's see if we can reach 1,000. I promise you, we will go once we got 1,000. 860. 860. So I don't think there's going to be any problem getting to 1,000. Okay, 860. Okay, Chuck Barnes. Chuck Barnes, good to have you. Living my life from the dirty South. Looks like it's Cary, North Carolina. Very familiar with Cary, North Carolina. North Kakalaki. For you folks who are from North Carolina, you know what North Kakalaki is all about. That's a little local language. Don't let us distract from Project 2025. Absolutely. 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 You are absolutely right. I'll say more about that in just a minute. In fact, let me see. Oh, that's one of the things I want to come back to once I say just a few things. All right, we got over 900. As soon as we get to 1,000, we'll get started here. And the comments I got to make, they're not going to last very long. I want to entertain your comments first. Okay, we got 926, 926, 977. So we're getting ready to do 1,000. I promise you I'll get started at 1,000. Promise. Okay. So now this is all live. I'm having to talk to you and produce the show at the same time. So if something goes wrong, just please be patient and forgiving. 984. 984. 984. We're almost there. All right. So let's just see here. We're almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Almost. Oh, we're well over 1,000. So we're ready. All right, I'm getting ready to go. We're well over 1,000. We're almost at 1,100 at this point. Okay, so let's get started. Again, thank you all for joining me today on this really historic moment in our country. As I said earlier, for those of you who just came on, this is the third time in my lifetime, and I'm 62 years old, and I'm more 63 at this point. I'm between 62 and 63, and I'm more towards 63 than 62. And I can remember two attempts on a president's life. I remember Ronald Wilson Reagan was shot. Remember that like it was yesterday. That was in the early 80s. Can't remember what year. and of course, yesterday with Donald Trump. And in November of 63, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. It was not just an attempted assassination. He was literally assassinated. And since we live here in the Dallas area, we pass by where he was assassinated practically every day. And it's still a place that people come from around the world. So it's a really big deal when something like this happens, okay? Now, our reaction to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump is, first and foremost, we strongly condemn the attempted assassination of Donald Trump in the strongest terms. Now, many of you, I'm seeing at least some of you here are expressing the fact that you believe this was staged, that it is a ploy of the GOP, of Trump, and so on. Well, you know, the facts are still coming out. I don't know whether it was staged. I tend not to think it was staged, to be honest, because a man did lose his life. Some other folks were shot. And from what we're being told, Trump the bullet grazed his ear. And of course, we know, you know, Trump will tell lies. We know that. But this is not just Trump. This is all the news outlets. This is the Secret Service. This is the FBI. This is a whole bunch of people. And none of them are disputing that this actually happened. So anything is possible. I'm not going to say that it's not possible that it was staged, but I would say at this point, it's probably not feasible. Again, a man lost his life. From my understanding, he was shot in the head by one of the assassin's bullets. And so, because based on all the evidence right now, this was an attempted assassination of Donald Trump, and it's one that we condemn in the strongest terms. We condemn political violence in the strongest terms, because we should be able to debate political issues in this country without anyone suffering violence. We are debating right now Trump's intentions for the country if he's reelected, whether Biden or he or Kamala or someone else is the best person to lead the nation for the next 4 years. That is a political debate, and it's one that we should be able to have, and again, without any threat of violence. The problem is our nation is just a very violent nation. There are many, in fact, I read there are more guns than people. I mean, everyone is armed. And we in the African-American community, we deal with a disproportionate share of violence. So we should condemn violence of any sort, period, because we deal with it within our community and we deal with it from those outside of our community. So as a minister and as a licensed attorney, I see violence all the time. I represented families whose loved ones have been killed. I represent those who have been accused of killing others. And I have funeralized, eulogized people who have been killed. I hate violence. I hate it. I don't like it. Okay? And so just on a natural level, I just condemn the violence. Now we have, by the way, 1,725 viewing, so we went well over the 1,000, and that's great. I'm glad to have so many of you joining us. And again, we should be able to debate these issues without the threat of violence. And as I was just saying, we, the African American community, we have dealt with political violence. We've dealt with that, that street violence, but we've also dealt with our share of political violence with the assassination of Dr. King, of Medgar Evers, shot in the back trying to get people registered to vote. Dr. King shot through the jaw as he was trying to empower working men there in Memphis, Tennessee. And there have been many, many, many others. I think about the 3 young men back in the 60s, Swerner, Cheney, Goodman, who were killed. Of course, we think about Emmett Till. We think about there's a white woman from Detroit who was killed during the civil rights movement. There were thousands of people lynched who, during the civil rights movement, during Jim Crow, who were fighting against white supremacy. Many of them just the victims of white supremacy. So we've dealt with violence, and I just condemn it. Now, while we condemn the attempted assassination of Trump, at the same time, we strongly condemn the white supremacy, the unjust racist policies that Trump and MAGA and Project 2025 and the GOP advocate. We talk about those racist policies. We talk about the white supremacy. We talk about it all the time via our videos. And long before you became a subscriber, long before we had 100,000 or so subscribers, I have been condemning the white supremacy of Trump and the GOP. When he first came on the scene in 2015, I took a strong stand against him. When he came down those escalators and he began to talk about the rapists and the murderers who were coming across the border and the way he treated Barack Obama, I was one of a few at that time. A lot of folks that I saw on Facebook and other places back in 2015, they weren't saying that. But I took a very, very strong stand against the white supremacy that was coming from Trump. We remember at a lot of his rallies, I mean, he just really stoked violence a lot. Knock that person out. I'll pay for your legal fees. All that sort of stuff. If he doesn't win, he recently said if he doesn't win, it's going to be a bloodbath. We heard the president of the Heritage Foundation seemingly say, "Hey, we're going to take our country back, and it'll be bloodless if the left allows it." I mean, so. Yeah, we know that on that side, on that political side, on that side of the political spectrum, you do certainly have these folks who are stoking violence. Absolutely. We still condemn the violence. We still condemn the attempted assassination of Trump. Although we do know, and let's keep it a buck. We do know that if it was Biden, a lot of folks on the right would be celebrating and making unkind remarks and so on. We know that when this has happened to other people, we've seen their reaction. But the thing I want to stress is we don't get down on their level. We're not them, they're not us. So we strongly condemn what happened to Trump, And we strongly condemn the direction that Trump and MAGA and Project 2025 are trying to take our nation. That doesn't change, and we will continue to resist that. Now, you may ask, how in the world can you do both? How can you condemn the violence, the attempted assassination of Trump, and at the same time condemn the white supremacy and racism and so on that Trump and those who support him are advocating? Well, it's really, really simple. It's because we're Christians. All right? I am a minister. I am a preacher. I have been a minister of the gospel for 40 years. I am a committed Christ follower. And as such, I follow Scripture. And Scripture tells us in many places to pursue righteousness and justice. Pursue righteousness and justice. So I promote both. I promote righteousness in the world, especially in the African American community, and I espouse racial justice in the African American community. And what happened to Trump was unrighteous, and what Trump is advocating is unjust. So we condemn both what happened to him and what he pushes. Okay, and you don't need me to go through, the racism that Trump has pushed. We have seen it for the last, I don't know how many years we could go all the way back to the 70s when he was denying black folks rental properties, his rental properties. I could just go through. I'm going to be sensitive because of what happened, but we have seen with our own ears. Okay, and so on. So it is there. Still, he didn't deserve what happened to him yesterday. That still doesn't mean he deserved that. Okay? So we're able to condemn both unrighteousness and injustice because the scriptures that we try to live by condemn both unrighteousness and injustice. So I promote, and this is who I am, I promote righteousness and justice. I'm not one of those Christians who all you hear me talking about is righteousness type issues, and you never hear me talking about justice issues. Nor am I one of those kind of Christians who all you hear me talking about is justice issues, and you never hear me talking about righteousness issues. The African American community needs a strong message of righteousness, right? And a strong message of justice. We should be treated justly while we live right. So because I am, and that's the reason why, you all, I am not a part of any political party, because I am a Christian, and that transcends politics. So in this instance, I embrace Biden, Harris, the Democratic Party, because they have and they are pushing racial justice. It's just that simple. Okay? So it's because of Scripture that instructs Christians to push both righteousness and justice. And by the way, if you want to go look it up, Psalm 89:14, Psalm 89:14, and Psalm 97:2, the 97th Psalm, verse 2, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 7 and 8, the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, chapter 1, verse 3. Okay, these are specific. God established his throne on both righteousness and justice. So that's why we can condemn what happened to Trump and then condemn the racism that Trump espouses. Okay? All right? Let's go back. So we oppose both strongly, both the attempted assassination of Trump as well as the white supremacy that he pushes, and we do so with equal force. We oppose political violence also because we are students and adherents to Dr. King's nonviolent teachings. We believe nonviolence is the way to go. We go with Dr. King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. A lot of times we leave the Reverend part off, but he too was a Baptist minister, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And he was a nonviolent person. And when I was younger, I couldn't get with that. I used to say, I'm not getting on my knees and praying and somebody hit me upside my head and all of that and loving and all. No, I wouldn't. No, couldn't get with that. But I have matured, I have grown, and I see the wisdom. Just like right now, there are going to be people on the right who are going to want vengeance, who are going to want to strike out. Many of them want a race war, right? And that's why some of you are saying, and I completely understand it, that this was all staged so that it could become a race war. I understand that. I understand that possibility. I understand all of this. Okay. But again, it's just a really sad situation for our nation, and I think Dr. King's nonviolent teachings is the right to go. So we are students and adherents of Dr. King. Now, that doesn't mean we're weak. That doesn't mean we're not going to fight Project 2025. Look, you've been watching our videos. You know I'm very clear on what I say, what I believe, where I stand. And as passionately as I condemn the attempted assassination of anybody, with the same force, we're going to continue to resist Trump's reelection. We're going to continue to resist Project 2025 and so on. That has not changed. The point is, though, he should not, no one should have tried to take his life. No. We're not them, and they're not us. Okay? So we're students and adherents to Dr. King's nonviolent teaching. We also obey the law, and it's illegal to advocate violence against a former president, right? Or anyone else. But when we're talking about Trump, 18 U.S.C. Section 879 prohibits people from trying to kill a former president or advocating violence toward a former president, on a former president, and a president, obviously, but even a former president. The man was elected. And I don't let you all forget that one of the reasons why he was elected was because a whole lot of black folks sat home, voted the couch, and let him get elected. So he is elected. He was elected, pardon me, and did a whole lot of stuff. And remember, he thanked black folks for not voting. 56.9%. So it is a federal crime to advocate violence, to attempt violence toward a former president. No, I'm not getting into that. I'm an attorney. I'm a lawyer. Remember that. I'm a Christian and I'm an attorney. I don't just go out here and just break the law. I don't do that. This is not the gutter. This is not the ghetto. Okay, no. We're professionals. We're Christians and we're professionals. We're law-abiding African-American people. So I'm not going to come close to advocating violence against anyone, including a former president. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Here I'm representing other folks for breaking the law. I'm not going to turn around and break it myself because I strongly disagree with the political opinions and ideology of Trump or anybody else. So let's keep it real here. All right. Once again, 18 U.S.C. Section 879. But we also condemn this because Chloe and I are members of the Texas State Bar. We are licensed attorneys. The Texas Supreme Court has given us the privilege of being licensed attorneys here. It's only because of the Texas Supreme Court. In other words, it's a privilege for us to have that license. And so we want to show honor to the Texas State Bar. We want to not behave in such a way that brings, ill repute to the Texas State Bar. Now, we know some of Trump's lawyers, have done so and have been disciplined, but we're trying not to do that. So we appreciate them giving us the privilege of practicing law here and licensing us. And think about that. I mean, I'm a high school dropout. I appreciate the state of Texas for giving me that opportunity. So I'm not going to be out here advocating or coming even close to advocating violence against anybody, especially a former president. And by the way, Chloe, I guess this is a bit of breaking news. Chloe is the chairman-elect of the African-American section of the Texas State Bar. Wow. So she will be the representative of African-American lawyers across the state of Texas. So again, we got to walk this high road here. All right. So I've said to you that we condemn political violence because we're Christians. We do so because we are attorneys. We do so because we are students and adherents of Dr. King's nonviolence approach to things. And that doesn't mean, doesn't mean I'm weak or any of that. Put it this way, I'm very well armed. Okay? I'm armed. I'm armed. And I'm at the gun range pretty often. All right? So I don't advocate gratuitous violence. I hate it. I hate what it has done in our community. I've had it affect me personally. And, but at the same time, we can take care of business. We can take care of business. So we're members of the Texas State Bar. Now, before we start taking your questions, there was a comment. Some of the comments just really, I have to address them. There was a comment, someone in the comments said that they don't pray for racists, and shame on the Defiant lawyers for asking you all to pray for Trump, to pray for the country, etc. And my response is, it's never shameful to pray for your enemies. Even those who want to do you harm, even those who represent policies that could harm your community. Jesus said, again, I'm a follower of Jesus. He said, pray for your enemies. Love your enemies. And you may say, well, man, come on now, that's just weakness. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It takes tremendous strength to pray and love your enemies. It doesn't mean you don't like we're doing with, what the Project 2025 and MAGA and Trump and all, but it doesn't mean we just let them do what, no, that's weakness. That's not what we're talking about here. There's this ideal that Christians are weak. That's junk. I'm not a weak person. Okay? I sometimes have to tone it down because I can get ready to boogie real quick. Okay? So no, there's no weakness there. It's just wisdom. I've been talking about, I've been teaching from the Bible about how our young men in the rap community, are just killing each other because of a whole lot of revenge stuff. Some of these young men are out here killing each other and then making videos about it. If they simply followed what Jesus said, there wouldn't be any of that. Okay? There wouldn't be any of that because you would love your enemies. And that would result in, let me put it this way, you don't know what it's like to be looking down from the pulpit into a casket of a 15-year-older or 20-year-older whose life hasn't even started. Nor do you know what it's like to be standing beside a 15-year-older or a 20-year-older who is facing a judge whose life has been destroyed, who has destroyed somebody else's life, and you're standing there with them, and you see them as the bailiff walks them off to spend the rest of their lives behind bars. If you have those experiences, it'll change, the way you see this violence. All right. So I believe that is all that I wanted to share with you all. I'm now going to take some of your comments, and there are many of them, so I'm just going to do so randomly. And let me say this. I think I need to say this. I am a committed Christian. I am a minister. Occasionally, I don't do it often. Occasionally, I will quote scripture. I will talk about my faith. I don't do it a lot because we're dealing with the justice side of things here. So I don't do it a lot. But if it offends you, you can unsubscribe right now. Just unsubscribe. There is no point in you listening to the content, knowing now that I'm a minister, maybe you knew already, and then you want to say something about my faith, about Christianity, about me being a minister. Why? Why? Just unsubscribe. That's all you got to do and go on. I get it. I understand. But I'm definitely not, going to hide who I am. I'm very, very happy to be a Christian, a committed Christian. It has changed my life. I probably would be dead or in prison right now if it wasn't for my faith in Christ. I told you I had a very, very rough upbringing, high school dropout, juvenile delinquent, okay? And it was Christ who changed my life. All right? So I just needed to say that as well. All right. Hello from Minnesota. Thank you for tuning in. So this is one of the comments I do want to address. The GOP is trying to change the narrative because so many people are informing the public about Project 2025. Okay, let me address that. Let me get a drink of water here first. No, I was going to say something about this cup, but the manufacturer doesn't give me anything to say anything, so no, forget it. All right. The GOP is trying to change the narrative because so many people are informing the public about Project 2025. All right. I started talking about Project 2025 over 7 months ago. I did a video. Go look at it. And it didn't get hardly any views. I think it got maybe 100 or so views until just like a month ago, and now it's over 20-something thousand views. It just sat there. People were not interested in Project. I'm screaming about Project 2025. You all need to understand what's going on with Project 2025. This is bad. This is dangerous. Blah blah blah. Here's what and most people wouldn't watch it. Didn't watch the video. Now I attribute it to Raji P. Henson saying on the BET Awards that you need to go read Project 2025, and then now all of a sudden, bam! You know, now I wasn't the only one talking about it. I think Roland Martin may have talked about it, and maybe some others, I'm sure. But it had not gotten the attention that it has gotten here in the last few weeks. And I do agree that it is really burning across the country, and it is exposing what Trump and his former officials, and folks don't believe him when he says he doesn't know anything about it and doesn't know who's behind it. In a previous video, if you read the manual, if you read the Project 2025 manual, many of the authors, the manual is broken down in chapters. Many of the chapters are written by former Trump officials. Like, for example, Ben Carson, Christopher Miller, who was Department of Defense Secretary, Ben Carson, the Department of HUD. In fact, Chloe's going to be doing a video on what Project 2025 intends to do for housing policies in an effort to basically gut the Fair Housing Act, one of those landmark civil rights laws that was passed in the 60s, along with the Civil Rights Act of 64, along with the Voting Rights Act of 65. So, folks, the fight is not over. In other words, we're not, because we condemn violence doesn't mean at all that we're going to relent in trying to get a Democrat elected, whoever they end up with. Okay, if it's Joe Biden, we're riding with Biden. You've heard me say, and I'll say it again, I don't care if they nominated Flavor Flav. I'm with Flavor Flav. It doesn't matter. Kamala Harris. I like Kamala. I like Kamala a lot. If they replace Joe, I like Kamala a lot. Kamala's an HBCU grad. She's eminently qualified, former prosecutor. Some folks have an issue with that. I deal with a lot of prosecutors and so on. And if you become the victim, now I just got a text. This is probably my wife. Okay. If you become the victim of a crime, then the prosecutor is going to be your favorite person, right? Or if a loved one. And again, our communities are really victimized, in disproportionately. So I'm not against somebody because they are a prosecutor. My daughter, Chloe, was a prosecutor. Okay, some folks need to be taken off the streets. Come on. Some folks need to be prosecuted. And then there are others that we represent who are getting a bad shake, who were overcharged, who were racially profiled, who are innocent, who acted in self-defense, but the prosecutor won't take that into consideration. So, you know, just because she was a prosecutor doesn't make her a bad person. Come on. This, really. All right. So, you know, what Ms. Davis is saying here is that the GOP staged this assassination. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but the way I read what she's saying is that it's that the GOP staged this or is trying to use it. One of the two, Ms. Davis. I'm trying again not to put words on what you're saying, but either they staged it or they're trying to use it to take attention away from Project 2025. I completely understand that sentiment. But let me tell you this. I've already said, I based on what I'm seeing right now, this could change, but based on what I'm seeing right now, I don't believe this was staged. I don't believe, I'm not certain. All the facts, how many times have I taken a position and before all the facts came out and, you know, a week or two later, you got to go back and change everything because the facts came out. So that's very, 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 very possible. Based on what I know now, I don't think it was staged. But either way, Ms. Davis, and to the rest of you, that's not going to affect our strong, strong opposition to Project 2025. We got more videos coming, okay, because there is a lot in Project 2025 to unpack. And as I said in my last video, this is not to frighten anybody about Project 2025. It is to enlighten you, not frighten you, enlighten you so that you can do what? Fight, right? First the light comes and then the fight comes. Now you can also fight, you know, run. That's not what we want you to do. We want you to be enlightened so that you can fight this. How? Voting. Not violence, voting. Not bullets, ballots. Okay? All right? So, Ms. Davis, thank you for that comment. That's my response. It will not work, whether it was staged or not. That won't work. Hello from Dallas. Hello, Jessica. Thank you for tuning in. All right, I definitely want to address this. All you people are co-conspirator of what took place concerning the attempted assassination of Donald Trump with your propaganda, accusations, and rhetoric. Don't sound empathetic now. Okay, let me address that. Yes, I actually appreciate you saying that. First, that's completely false. And we know who has been out here stoking violence. We know who has stoked violence. And from what I understand, the young man who fired those shots is a registered Republican. That's my understanding. I think he contributed $15 or so to a Democrat, to a Democratic political action committee. But no. That is legally crazy to say that people who oppose Project 2025, who are educating people about Project 2025. I mean, look, the creators of Project 2025 put it up on their website and are advocating it themselves until they've learned, Trump has learned that it is a liability. and has now said that Agenda 47 is really what he supports. But then when you read them, they're mirrors of the same thing. So just because someone is informing, because me or anyone else, and there are a bunch of us who are informing the African American community about the intents, about the contents, and so on of Project 2025, in no way makes any of us co-conspirators. That is preposterous. Absolutely not. I mean, that's crazy. Okay. Hello from Barbados. Hello to you. Again, one of those places where I would love to be. Good day, Mr. Corbett. Thank you. From Nassau, New York. Hello. That last comment, I was glad to see that because I wanted to address something like that. That is, now you want to talk about gaslighting. That is some serious gaslighting right there. If you inform folks about Project 2025, you are a co-conspirator if some nut goes out here and tries to take somebody's life. That is crazy. Now that is manipulation. And we're not gonna fall prey to that. We're gonna continue and besides, as I said already, good evening from Fayetteville. Good evening to you as well. As I've already said, we know who has been stoking the violence here. Someone asked the question, did we pray for Paul Pelosi? I'm glad to see this. I'm glad to see this because you know what? When Mr. Pelosi was attacked, I remember folks on the right laughing, making fun. I remember folks on the right saying that it was his gay lover. I remember Donald Trump Jr. saying that. Okay? So, come on. Someone said here, what are you talking about? We are to love and pray for our brothers. We were never instructed to love the so-called white man. Really? I don't know what book you're reading. It's not the Bible. Rebuke is a form of love, Miss Gaston Neal. I don't know if that's a woman or man, but very true. That's right. We have just a bunch of comments here. I'm trying to get to the ones that I think can be enlightening. Unfortunately, let me say this too. I'm trying to be respectful of what happened yesterday. But man, if you want to talk about violence, this is a violent nation. This nation was taken from indigenous people violently, murderously. You want to talk about violence. You want to talk about who stokes the violence. This nation was taken from, I was looking at a documentary just yesterday about Native Americans and the condition that the Native American community is in, many of them, on these plantations. The alcoholism, the suicide, the joblessness, it is horrendous. It is horrible. And it is all that is connected to the genocide, the violence that was visited upon those people. Now, they enslaved blacks, okay? Can't overlook that. But what they endured when, Europeans showed up here is just something. Now, that's just them. After doing that, then the founders went to Africa and forcefully and violently brought back African people to come here and use force and violence to make us, our ancestors, work this soil. So don't you dare lecture African American people on who's violent. Don't you dare. This is absolutely right. Maria says, we can't become like Trump. That's the point. That is the point. We doubt very seriously if Trump would show the same grace to Biden if this had happened to Biden, but we're still not coming down to that level. Hello from Tennessee. I think this is probably a troll, but I'm going to comment. He says, okay, you're a Christian, you're a minister, you're a lawyer, great. Now tell us what we're going to do when Trump wins. Well, my response to that is simple. We're going to vote like crazy. We're going to organize. We're going to take people to the polls. We're not going to follow these folks who have told us to vote the couch. And we're going to do everything we can, new pop entertainment, to prevent Trump from winning. We're just not going to do it with violence. This is a very good question right here. CT Ram. Why does Trump want to get rid of the Department of Education? As you all know, I wrote a book, Education and Justice, and spent a lot of time in the book talking about policies of the Department of Education. Okay? It's a really good question. Why do conservatives want to get rid of the Department of Education and other departments? Okay, the Department of Justice, at least rework it. and the Environmental Protection Agency. But the question is, what about the Department of Education? Well, if you hear them tell it, they will say that the Department of Education has been a total failure, right? A complete failure. And they will oftentimes look or point to some of the issues that African-American students face in public education. I think that is so disingenuous because the issues that I outlined, the issues facing African-American students in public education are rooted in white supremacy and racism. Okay? I spent the whole book talking about how that happens as it relates to things like tracking, as it relates to school discipline, as it relates to the low number of African American students that are in gifted and talented education, that are in AP classes, the very, very high number of African American students who are in special education. I talk about it in terms of zero tolerance policies. So many different areas I address in this book that shows you why our kids tend not to do well in the public school system. And it is not because of the policies of the Department of Education. In fact, what Obama did when he was president, he implemented a lot of civil rights laws to protect African American students. And when Trump came to office in 2016 and appointed Betsy DeVos, however you pronounce her name, she gutted those civil rights policies. So they would argue that the Department of Education really takes money away from where money could be going into private schools, right? They would say to the states, a states' right argument that education should be local. But folks, we know as African Americans what happens oftentimes in these states' education department, like Florida, for example, where they won't even teach history. They won't even teach Black history. Here in Texas, where they ban books like Maya Angelou's book, Why the Caged Bird Doesn't Sing. I mean, we've been through that. We cannot trust these local leaders to educate our children. We need national standards that they must meet. And if you want to see that up close, come to Texas. To the person that said we can't become like Trump, we can't become like the Democrats calling violence on Trump and his supporters, shame on you. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, put it this way, I defy you, Des LC, to find any instance where Biden, Kamala, or anybody else who is out here educating folks about the intentions of the GOP and MAGA and Project 2025 to show where they actually advocated violence. What you're doing now is you're advocating violence. That's what you're doing. You're trying to use this situation, this unfortunate situation with that happened to Trump, to stoke violence on the right. And they have made it really clear they don't need much anyway. They don't need much. So shame on you. Okay. I think this is going to do it. You all, we're going to continue to keep educating you on Project 2025. The things that the fascists, and let me put it out there, the fascist autocratic plans that Project 2025 and SCOTUS has for this country are scary. Okay? This immunity case plus that Chevron case that will allow Trump, if he were to be reelected, to go through these federal agencies and fire thousands of them and then replace them with the guy that I talked about in my previous video who swears retaliation against everybody. We must continue to keep educating the country on that, because here's what they're planning. They have that on their website because if Trump gets reelected, then they will say, we have a mandate from the American people. We had Project 2025 all over the internet, and yet the country voted in Trump. So that means they want Trump to implement Project 2025 and have all that power and have absolute immunity and, as he said, be a dictator. He said it. He said it himself. He said in response to a question by Sean Hannity. Sean asked him, do you want to be a dictator? He said basically, at least on the first day. And there are Republicans who are afraid that, like Liz Cheney, James Comey, a lot of them are afraid if he gets back in office, it will be very, very, very difficult to get him out. These are really serious days that we're living in. However, we should be able to debate these things without violence. We should be. Thank you, Ms. Hatchett. Thanks to Taraji, Mr. Williams said, I completely agree. Thank you, Taraji. And the YouTubers out here who are doing what this person is doing, who are saying Project 2025 is nothing, it is just a scare tactic, tell Kevin Roberts that, the president of the Heritage Foundation. Tell him that. And tell Ben Carson that, Christopher Miller that, Gene Hamilton, tell all those folks who actually wrote parts of Project 2025 that they did so just because it's a scare tactic. Come on. Come on. All right, this is going to do it. This is going to do it. You all, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you tuning in. Someone here says, all the Boule talked about it. You know, it was interesting. I saw the AKA was here in Dallas recently, and they had Boule in their name, in their description. And I thought about the fact that some folks use that word as a pejorative. I don't know what they mean by that. I know AKAs, and they are just awesome people, accomplished, doing well in life, you know, making things happen and so on. If you got a problem with them, too bad. And it's sad too, because they are what those women are what African-American women should ascribe to be, rather than the other ones out here doing all this stuff, this Sexy Red and all of them. No, I mean, all right. This is going to be it. You all, thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate your engagement, your questions, and so on. That's going to do it. I am out of here. Thank you for joining. Peace.